Today we continue Satipatthana Sutta. First, Kaya Nupassana Satipatthana, contemplation of the Kaya, body. Ita Bhikkhve Bhikkhu Kaye Kaya Nupassi Viharati. Atapi Sambhajano Satima Vineya Loke Beja Domanasam. Atapi Sambhajano Satima. In the practice, yogi understand the value of sati, the values of mindfulness. Mindfulness is adjusting mental factors. So it helps to keep your effort from becoming too much. It helps your concentration from becoming too much and so on. So mindfulness factors is a regulating factors among these mental components in the practice of meditation. So yogi understand that mindfulness is always needed. There can be no excess of mindfulness. Mindfulness is a very important factor. In these mental factors, but every mental factors is important, and each one of them must be working in harmony and in balance with the other mental factors. When your saddha, faith, virya, ardent energy, samadhi, concentration, pinya are working in balance, and you are clearly comprehending the phenomena. So the results come. The result is Vinaya Loke Beja Domanasa. You overcome Abheja and Domanasa, covetousness and grief in the world. This is the result you get from clear comprehending in the practice of mindfulness meditation. Overcoming covetousness and grief in the world means avoiding craving or attachment or anger or ill will concerning the Namarupa you are observing. Loke in the world means in the worlds of Kaya, in the worlds of body, in the worlds of Vedana, feelings, in the worlds of Chaita, consciousness and Dhamma. In other words, in the worlds of Rupa, Vedana, Sannyas, Sankara and Vijnana, body, feeling, perception, mental formation, and consciousness. So you see one object and you can be attached to that object. If you come to the conclusion that that object is beautiful or it is good, you will be attached to it, and you can have anger or hatred, etc. towards that object if you decided it was ugly or disgusting. So these mental defilements can come into your mind when you experience something. In order to prevent these kilesa from arising, we need to make some protection, and that protection is mindfulness. When we are mindful, mental defilements will not get a chance to get into our minds. When we are mindful, when we comprehend it clearly, and when we see the objects clearly, we know that these objects, these namarupa, come and go. These objects are impermanent. And so, not to be attached to them. So we can avoid abhijja, covetousness or attachment, and domanassa, grief or hatred or depression regarding that object by the practice of mindfulness. Vinaya, whether we say overcoming or removing or whatever, actually we are avoiding or preventing them from arising. Not that they have come and then we overcome them or we remove them after they have come. The meaning really is preventing covetousness and grief from arising in our minds. If we do not practice mindfulness on the namarupa, kilesa, mental defilements will surely come. Either abhijja, covetousness, and dominance of grief, or attachment, or hatred. These mental states can come, but by the practice of mindfulness, we can prevent these mental defilements from coming. Preventing them from arising in our minds is what is meant by vinaya, overcoming them. But if they have arisen, we should not make them the objects of we should make them the objects of our attention to eliminate them. So in the practice, we talk about enlightenment. When we talk about enlightenment, we say at the moment of enlightenment, mental defilements are eradicated. What mental defilements are eradicated at that moment? The present mental defilements or past mental defilements or future mental defilements. The past mental defilements is already past. We do not have to do anything to get rid of them. And the future mental defilements are not here yet. So you cannot do anything about them. And what about the present mental defilements? If mental defilements are present, there can be no enlightenment. Because enlightenment is a wholesome state, and those mental defilements are unwholesome states. Wholesome states and unwholesome states cannot exist together. They do not coexist. So the mental defilements that are said to be eradicated at the moment of enlightenment are not of the past, not of the future, and not of the present. Then, what kilesa, what mental defilements are eradicated? Actually, those that are eradicated are not called defilements in Pali. They are called latency or anusaya in Pali, which means the potential to arise. What the enlightenment consciousness eradicates is that potential. That means when something is always with us, we say we have the things. For example, take smoking. Suppose he smoke, but right now he do not smoke. If I ask him, do you smoke? He would say, yes, I do. Because he smoked in the past and he will smoke in the future. And he have not given up smoking. So although he is not smoking at this very moment, he say, yes, I smoke. In the same way, now right at this moment, I hope I have no mental defilements in my mind, and you have no mental defilements in your mind. But after few moments, you go out and you step on something sharp or someone push you, and then you get angry. And thus, the mental defilements comes when there are the condition for them. So we say we have mental defilements. I have mental defilements, you have mental defilements, but not right at this moment. So that liability to arise is what is eradicated by enlightenment. The mental defilements that are said to be eradicated at the moment of enlightenment are actually nothing but that ability to come up, the liability to come up. When they come up, they are already there. In the same way, here, Vinaya Loke Beja Dominasam, overcoming covetousness and grief means avoiding mental defilements or preventing mental defilements from arising in our minds. How to prevent, how to avoid. By the practice of mindfulness. You make effort, you blind mindfulness and you have concentration, and then you see Nama and Rupa clearly. When you see Nama Rupa clearly, there is no chance for these mental defilements to come into your mind. In this way, Vipassana or mindfulness practice removes mental defilements. And then we need to know three kinds of removal. Removal of mental defilements. The first one is Tadinga Pahana or Tadinga Vinaya. Momentary removal. This removal or overcoming is just momentary, just by substitution. Next moment, they may come back. It is of a very short duration. It is called abandonment by substitution. That means you abandon the unwholesome mental states by substituting them with the wholesome mental states by the practice of meditation. When there is a wholesome mental states, there cannot be any unwholesome mental states. You put wholesome mental states in the place, and so unwholesome mental states do not get a chance to arise. That is called abandonment by substitution. That will last for only a moment, only that moment. The next moment, you do not practice, and then they may come back. So at the moment of vipassana, abhijja and domanassa, the covetousness and grief are removed in that way by substituting them with your mindfulness and clear comprehension. When you get out of vipassana and you meet some condition for them to arise, and then these defilements will arise. Second one is Vikambana, Vinaya or Vikambana Bahana, temporary removal. Temporary abandonment or abandonment by pushing away. When you push something away, it may stay there for some time. It may not come back quickly, like plants in the water. If you push them away, they may stay away for some time. But then, very slowly, they may come back. That kinds of removing or abandonment is called temporary abandonment or temporary removing or removal by pushing away. That is achieved by jhanas. When you get jhanas, or when you experience jhana, you are able to push these mental defilements away for some time. Mental defilements may not come to your mind for the whole day, or maybe a week or a month. But in this case too, mental defilements can eventually come back. When your samadhi is continuous, mental defilements are away from your mind. The third one is total removal. The Pali word is samucceda, cutting off. That is removal by cutting off. It is like you cut the root of a tree and it never grows back. So the total removal or removal once and for all is called removal by cutting off, and that is achieved at the moment of your enlightenment. The mental defilements eradicated at the moment of your enlightenment never comes back to you. When yogi become Arahant, Arahant has eradicated all mental defilements, all kilesa. Arahant has no attachment, no anger, no pride, no jealousy, and other unwholesome mental states. Even though they are provoked, Arahants will not get angry. Even though they may see a very, very attractive and beautiful object, they will not feel any attachment or desire for that namarupa. Those are the persons who have eradicated mental defilements by totally cutting them off. So these are the three kinds of removing. And here in the practice of Vipassana, we can understand the two kinds of removing. The first removing, momentary removal. There can also be the second kinds of removing, temporary removal. That is, if you have practiced meditation well, and you are able to avoid abhijja and domanassa, covetousness and grief, with regard to the objects you observe, you will find that you are able to avoid covetousness and grief even with regard to those objects that you do not observe. Here, do not observe means do not treat with mindfulness. Naturally, the objects we come across can cause covetousness and grief in our minds. If we do not practice mindfulness on the objects, then we will have attachment or ill will towards that object. That happens to most people. If you are good at your Vipassana practice and you have this experience of avoiding covetousness and grief with regard to objects that are observed, you will find that you are able to prevent them from arising, even with regard to those that are not observed. That is what is called temporary removal by Vipassana. Vipassana can achieve only these two kinds of removal, momentary removal and temporary removal. But Vipassana cannot achieve the third one, total removal. Total removal will be done by your enlightenment or path consciousness. When Buddha said, Vineya loke bija domanasam, overcoming covetousness and grief in the world, He meant that the practitioner is able to avoid covetousness and grief from arising with regard to that object which he is observing. Here, abhijja, covetousness means all kinds of attachment, greed, lust, and other similar mental states. And domanassa, grief, means not just grief about, not just grief, but anger, hatred, depression, sorrow, all are included in domanassa, grief. There are three roots of akusala, unwholesomeness, and they are attachment, anger, and ignorance. Among these three roots of unwholesomeness, two are mentioned here, abhijja and domanassa. Covetousness is actually the first one. It is lobha or attachment. And the second one, domanassa, is here dosa, anger. So by covetousness, we mean all shades of lobha, and by grief means all shades of dosa. And then moha, ignorance is not included here because moha is very difficult to prevent and eradicate. So in the Satipatthana Sutta sentence, we must understand that a yogi practice Kayanupassana, body contemplation, making effort, applying mindfulness, and getting concentration, and clearly comprehending. And at the same time, he is able to avoid covetousness and grief from arising. It is the same with regard to Vedana, Citta and Dhamma, feeling, consciousness, and Dhamma. The commentary says that the statement overcoming covetousness and grief refers to the overcoming of all the 5 mental hindrances, because when covetousness and grief, that are the strongest of the 5 mental hindrances, are mentioned, we must understand that the other mental hindrances are also mentioned. So yogi know the 4 foundations of mindfulness, 4 kinds of setting up of mindfulness. There are 4 because there are 4 kinds of object: Kaya, Vedana, Citta, and Dhamma. The first one is Kaya Nupassana, contemplations of body. Sometimes body does not mean the whole physical body, but a group of some material properties. Anapana, breathing, is also called the body, different parts of the body, hairs of the body, etc. Different parts of the body are also called the body. By the word body, kaya, we must understand anything that is associated with our body. So in this Kaya Nupassana, one session on the contemplations of the body is called Iriyapata, the postures of the body. Postures here means the 4 deportments of the body. Going or walking, standing, sitting and lying down. Practitioners are to use all 4 postures in mindfulness meditation. And Buddha said, Gichandowa Gichamiti Pajanati, Titowa Titomiti Pajanati, Nisinowa Nisinomiti Pajanati, Seyanowa Seyanomiti Pajanati. Yata Wapanasa Kaya Panihitohodi Tatanam Pajanati. Buddha said, Bhikkhus, a bhikkhu knows I am going. When he's going, he knows I'm standing. When he's standing, he knows I'm sitting. When he's sitting, he knows I'm lying down. When he's lying down, or just as his body is disposed, so he knows it. Here, a bhikkhu knows means meditators know thoroughly, they know deeply. It is not just a superficial knowledge, it is a deep knowledge of what is going on. Meditators clearly know the going, standing, sitting and lying down. You must clearly know, I'm going. When going, I'm walking. When walking, I'm standing. When standing, I'm sitting. When sitting, and I'm lying down. When lying down, mindfulness must be applied to all postures of the body. The last statement, Yatavapanasa kaya panihita hoti tatanam bhajanati. Just as his body is disposed, so he knows it, allows different interpretation. The commentator interprets this sentence to be a general statement for all postures, not differing much from the statement made earlier. That means when yogis are going, they must know I'm going. When they are standing, they must know I'm standing, and so on. And the author of the sub-commentary, however, added another interpretation to this statement. According to him, in the statement, a bhikkhu knows I'm going when he's going, and so on. The different postures are emphasized. But in the last statement, just as his body is disposed, so he knows it. The body as a whole is emphasized. So when you know that your body as a whole is going, standing, sitting, and lying down, you may be following the instruction given in the last statement. But when you know I'm going, when going, and so on, you may be following the instruction given in the previous statement. And the late most venerable Mahasi Sayadaw had something else to add. Venerable Mahasi Sayadaw said that the statement covers all the small deportments or postures of the body as well. Not only going, standing, sitting, and lying down, but also the small movements like stretching, bending, or looking forward, or looking sideways. So yogi practicing meditation, especially Vipassana meditation, cannot afford to be unmindful of the small movements and deportments. When he failed to make notes of these small movements, there may be a tendency to cling to them by way of tanha, craving, and by way of dirty wrong views. When practicing Vipassana meditation, yogis must be aware of everything that is present at the moment. So in the statement, just as his body is disposed, so he knows it. Yata vapanasa kayapani tahoti tatanam bhajanati. In this statement, all other departments have to be included. Vipassana must be practiced not only in the four main postures, walking, sitting, standing, and lying down, but also in the various small postures. Vipassana must be practiced all the time, not only when we are on a retreat. We need to be aware of every phenomena. We must be going along with the nature of phenomena. We must be aware of every phenomena that are presently arising. So Kayanupassana, Satipatthana, we will continue. Next time we have to stop our discourse for today by practicing Vipassana meditation, by practicing Kayanupassana, Satipatthana, Vedananupassana, Satipatthana, Chaitanupassana, Satipatthana, and Dhammanupassana, Satipatthana. By noting rising, falling, sitting, touching, seeing, hearing, smelling, continuously and meticulously. May all yogis be liberated from all suffering. May all yogis realize the real peace in the very near future. So sitting meditation for a few minutes.